Today it's going to be short and sweet. Bet you don't believe that. Chinese elms, whether they be these big monster premier trees or indeed stuff that you've been growing from cuttings and have had for over 6, 7, 8 years, or indeed something that still looks just like that. Well, I'm going to quickly go through my pruning approach at this time of the year. We've just hit the beginning of autumn. Not a lot of speaking, I promise you, and we're going to see what we can do with this, but we're also going to have a little look at one that perhaps has got problems we need to address in spring of 2026. So if you love Chinese elm and you want to see me do a bit of pruning, perhaps do a bit of music, you know what to do. Keep watching. Hi, yeah, it's Xavier. Welcome to my bonsai retreat, and wow, look at that thing. It's absolutely magnificent, and I'm not afraid to say that I spent a wee bit of money on it, but it's money well spent because my wife told me to buy one, a special one in remembrance of her before she died, and I actually bought two. This is the first of them, and this, well, if you saw last video, you'll know this is the one that's looking particularly healthy and definitely needs to have a haircut, a bit like me. But either side of it, flanked, interestingly enough, are two equally impressive Chinese elms. One, a cork bark, and one, well, actually it's just a cutting off this one, I think, or maybe one of the earlier Chinese elms. And you'll know that's probably the reason why I love the Chinese elms the most, is that I've got hundreds and hundreds of them. You've seen the cuttings, but things like this has grown from a cutting. Every part of this design, everything about this is down to me. And you know what? You can all do this just as easily because this didn't require wire. This didn't require anything apart from one very important thing. And though I would give this same advice to every bit of tree you're pruning, there's no doubt about it. You've got to have some shears, and in this case some what I'd call some fine leaf pruning shears or twig pruners that are ultra sharp and stay sharp, because this Chinese elm, like your Japanese maple, are very, very prone to squashing the ends if you prune anything with a blunt edge. Some of your coarser trees you can get away with it, you just cut further down the blade, but if you haven't got a sharp blade, then honestly doing your Chinese elm can be really, really difficult. Equally, I find that the best of the concave or whatever cutters is the hybrid one, which has got a nice curved edge to it, so that you can actually bite into the trunk or big branch when you're actually removing bigger stuff. I find this very useful. And then equally, you need your concave cutters, either a small and a bigger one depending on the size of your tree, so that you can create a nice little hollow that will heal over and create a lovely well presented wound in a few years time. Normally that's all I'll need when I'm dealing with Chinese elms, and it goes without saying that my process is exactly the same. But first of all, let me answer the question, why exactly am I pruning now at autumn when I could be doing it at spring? And surprisingly, the answer is straightforward. I've done it at spring, I've done it in autumn, it doesn't matter. For me, it's about time management. I've got loads and loads of trees. Sometimes it's just great if you can get things like this out of the way. You don't need to think about them in spring. And what does happen is that if you reduce all these leaves back, or reduce shoots back to where you want the 2026 growing flush to come from, you get all that lovely energy being directed at the buds that you want a lot further back. So it's the same principle, it's just you're setting this up so that when the spring comes, you're going to get the flush exactly where you want it, and the buds will have already been set up, will have the auxins in place. I have found that if you do that work in the late winter, the tree can be a bit slow off the mark, and I think that's just about the redistribution of auxins and stuff like that the tree needs to do, so you find that the flush happens just a little bit later. If I want to get the chance to get the optimum flush so that I can do any post-flush hardened pruning in May, doing the work now seems to be the benefit. So what exactly am I going to do to this monster of a Chinese elm on rock? Well, let's have a look at it first, shall we? And as I've already said, unlike its sister tree, which is it's a lot squatter, but again on a rock, this one is showing loads and loads of growth and is well and truly healthy and can quite happily take. What I'm going to do now is some good pruning to profile, and then also just do some pad separation and have a look at any unwanted long lengths that are there. I'm going to cut it right back. It's going to look completely different when I've finished, but let's admire it. I mean, we look at these stupendous, now that's a good word, stupendous roots that are growing up over this great big large rock. It's firmly fixed on it, which I definitely know from the repot. Then we've got this lovely trunk set up here, which is narrowing down, a little bit of a bulge there, but nothing untoward. We've got some great interesting moving on branches until we work our way up to quite a very heavy apical region. And I think if I said what's my aim for 2026, actually is to really try and define and open up this apex just a little bit. It's very heavy up here, but overall this tree is continuing to develop very well. And anyone who's asking how old it is, well, I don't know. I bought it in say in 2020 when my wife died, and very hard to get imports of this nature these days. Right, tell you what, put down in the comments how old do you think this one might be. In fact, that's the Chinese elm police. They're coming around. They're going to tell me exactly how old it is, because they're probably going to tell me it's stolen. And again, it doesn't matter if you have a really expensive premium tree like you've just seen there. Equally, whether it be a developing cutting, and this one's probably 4 years old now, I think, or indeed this one here, which I think is probably nearer 9 or 10 years old. Again, cuttings, and this is just slowly being developed using a good tried and tested method, clip and grow. Nothing more than that, but there's some lovely delicate branch structure in there. And all I need to do is exactly the same thing that I'm going to do to the big one. And for those of you who follow my channel, you know it's divided into just 3 things: base, trunk, unwanted growth, i.e. upwards, crossing, downwards, or more than 2 off a branch. That's it. And to deal with the base, all I'm looking at doing is got me two brushes here, quite a nice bristle on this, but I've also got a thin bristle there, which is going to allow me to get in between these roots and try and get rid of any of those spiders that might be playing around in there, or indeed any loose flaky bark. I'll go around removing mosses that are built up, especially now we're going to go into the wet part of the year, and what we want to be doing is reducing any chance of rot or anything like that, and algae and mold forming, so we want to clear all of this out. And equally, I'm going to go around and remove a lot of this Scots moss which is building up, and that will allow me then to inspect the soil base itself and just have a feel. I mean, this was repotted 2 years ago. Just have a feel for what that base is looking like, and whether or not we've got too much breakdown in soil, which in this case is actually quite broken down, looking at that, which is surprising. And what I will say definitely is that with the Chinese elms, certainly in Grantham where I am here in the UK, I tend to find that I've gone away. I did try doing a completely inorganic mix. I've gone back to my sort of 30% good old-fashioned John Innes potting mix or something like that, just to help with a little bit of moisture retention. I do find that certainly over the summer months and all that, they just dry out too quickly, and really just don't put on very much growth as a result of it. So I'm going to work my way around here, clean this right out before we go on to step 2, which is just sorting out to see if we've got anything on the trunk we don't want. Okay, so that's the base all cleaned out and all those roots exposed. I've taken probably 2 or 3 millimeters of the surface off, removed old roots that are coming upwards, giving the pot a quick wipe down with water. We will do some preparation with that later using Bonsai Camellia oil, which you can get from notionbonsai.com. And the only other thing I'll do is I've got a pumice and zeolite top dressing, 1-2 millimeter. I'll just put over the top of that. But first of all, we need to cover that, and we're at stage 2. Again, the process is just the same, especially around these roots. You definitely want to get cobwebs out. And we're also looking, any flaky bark which we're seeing there, we get rid of that. Some flaky bark there, because this is where obviously we're going to have problems with overwintering insects underneath there. So it's quite alright to just remove carefully this flaky bark. Now you could use an overwintering spray, and I'd use the jadam sulfur, which I talked about in my previous video, and all I'd say with that is, because this is an evergreen, probably want to avoid getting on the foliage, but if I was going to use it, I would use a much weaker solution. I'm going to continue with my fine brushes, just clean out all this, and just make sure here I've got lots of cobwebs in there. And again, just want to make sure we don't have any scale insects already on the bark there. So nothing exciting, but there you go. An interesting thing already here, if you have a look here, we've got a stub just here. So I've seen it, so although it would be part of stage 3, I might just as well take it off now while I can see it. But that's the sort of thing we'll go over soon. So I'm going to keep working away there. We certainly haven't got as more bark coming off here. There we go. Okay, well, I've had a bit of a twinkle round there with the magic fingers. Got my fingers right in there, and it's just as easy, just get in between those pads, and you can be reasonably forceful. You can see the stuff that's coming out, and what you are, it's a combination of just getting rid of anything loose material, but while you're in here, you're also able to see what's going on close for stage 3, which is to remove everything that's wrong. And certainly this time of the year, that's what I'm looking. I want to clean up the inside. We're going to get darker periods, so less sun. The stuff that's closer in that we might want is potentially going to die off. So where I can, I want to open this out just a little bit, knowing full well that this isn't going to necessarily promote another burst of buds or some more shoots, although it's not unknown with Chinese elm, certainly if you keep them indoors. But just open it out and clear it up, and that will give it the space it needs next spring for a new push. So let's have a look at a couple of areas that I've picked up that I want to get rid of in stage 3, which is get rid of everything that's wrong. And the first thing I've noticed is actually right in here, just there at the base of that trunk coming up. It's actually covered by this branch here, but it's a great big thick clunky lump. I don't need it, so I'm going to remove it. Nice big chunk out, and it's gone. And make that nice and clean and deep so that it'll heal over. And yes, of course, what we need is some cut putty just to fill that in. So that's the putty in place, and we'll just get rid of some upward growth, which I definitely don't want. Over long, we look here how long all this is. It's long and gangly. What I really want to do is to it's going quite hard. There's some buds right back here that actually I'd love to come out. That would bring that right back in and I'm very, very tempted to actually pull that right back now. And that's the thing with Chinese elm, you can be really quite hard on it. So I said I'm going to do it. I think definitely going to bring it back that far. It's like here, you've got another long shoots here going all the way back. Really, we don't want any of that. This one's coming up, don't want that. Shorten that one off. Shorten that off, that's going back. Shorten that off. That. Maybe that's not too bad. Underneath we've got this great big one here, coming up and across. We definitely don't want any of that. And that's coming across the front of the tree, so let's shorten it right back. And then equally here, we've got this long length here that's got absolutely no growth on it. The only way we're going to get growth is if we cut that off. So we'll cut it off nice and short, and that should encourage buds from much lower in. Little buds like that. And I think ultimately what I'll do is I'll wait and see how this pad thickens up, and because I like all this growth here, I just don't like that we've got this big long length with nothing on it. But as you see, it does bud from little points. So we've got this dead area here, so I'm going to remove that, and up here, shorten this off. Shorten this off, and I think this is probably, yourselves are going to see it easier than me. You're probably saying, Zav, just cut it right back. And this is the issue. Sometimes you have to look at it, and with Chinese elm you can definitely do that, is if you get these long straights here where you've got absolutely no growth, if you look at it, it's nude. The answer is actually to take it right back. That will make an absolutely brilliant cutting. So I'll put that in water. And what you've done is you've opened up the front again, and you're going to be able to regrow a much tighter branch structure from what's existing here. So I'm going to clean this up, and again you can see if you go in close there, there's little bits there that you don't need, and you open up this so we can see into it. This one here again, having a look and seeing where these branches are actually coming from, and we've got them actually crossing underneath, and I really don't like it. Not sure I like it at all, but I probably like what's further back and let it go again. So I'm going to actually take a great big part off. I think this is the issue. You can have great big, I mean this was a great big knobbly pencil thickness part of a branch, but it had a conglomeration of 9 or 10 little shoots coming from it, and you quickly realise that none of it's going to be any use, because the time it's going to take these little shoots to get anywhere near the sides of the bigger thick stump, it's going to look wrong. You're better off sometimes just going, open that right out, put some sealant on that, and I'll have a look, and I've got a little branch here or a branch here that might actually grow, and you can control the ramification. And I think this is the thing, when you've bought trees or trees that are quite old, sometimes you actually have to go right back in. And in fact, when we visited Paul in Bristol, he had this brilliant cork bark elm, and you know, the fear is I don't want to make big cuts and take it right back, but sometimes you have to. And that particular tree, if you look at it, there was a lower branch that just needed to go, and also further up in the apex there was a big conglomeration, and you actually had a really nice pad up high that actually went under and was totally wrong sometimes, especially with these prolific species. You really can cut a lot off. Just regrow. Make sure you grow it in a much better place, tighter and compact. Anyway, I'm going to go around, keep doing all that. And it goes without saying that again, anything that's growing up, I remove anything where the shoots have extended to sort of more than sort of that is extended to more than 6 pairs. I'll bring it right back down to 2 or 3. And as I say, where we get big long growths like this, we need to really bring it tightly right back and start rebuilding it properly. So you take a great long length like that off. And I think already you can see that I've really taken off a lot in there, and you can see compared to the bush behind it just how far I'm happy and willing to go. It will flush back really strong because I can tell from the growth that this is a healthy tree. I wouldn't do exactly the same to the second one of these because, as you know, I have worries about what's going on in the roots. I do need to put it into a bigger pot. So anyway, I'm just going to continue. Potentially I may even do something as bold as removing that upward branch there. Another great cutting. And have a look now how you've created that space in there. And it can be hard sometimes. There's another one here. Because you suddenly think this great big tree that had loads of lovely growth, suddenly you're removing loads of it. But honestly, it's definitely the way to go. Big, bold, and be confident. Be confident that it's going to grow back. It really will. So anyway, I'm going to continue to be big, bold, and beautiful, and I'll have a look and see just how much gets removed. See you in a mo. Well, I thought I'd bring you back because you can clearly see that this branch here has been totally and utterly, well, it's been cut back to just a few things, few bits and pieces, but there's so much room and space in there. But the main reason for bringing you back is to talk about the issue we have removing branches that give so much, but actually are in the wrong place. Look at this. It gives this lovely pad here, beautiful pad, and unfortunately, if we look at the origin of that, that actually has twisted over this branch here, and actually starts from up here. Which is going to bring me back to that really difficult part of bonsai. And I'm going to say this now, there is no right answer. You can look at that and go, I love the way it works into the pad. I think it's brilliant. I can't see back there, so I can't see that it's actually coming from the wrong side. So I'm going to leave it. Well, that's fine too. But hey, we're on a bit of a voyage of discovery here. I want to try and get this as correct as I can. And I know that actually may seem false because in nature we get branches that grow like that. Now I could try and wire it out and up. That would be an option, but it's still crossing this little branch here. And what you can't see probably is this branch here would have filled that position has actually died off. It's being masked by this great big one here. So with a groan and a grunt, here we go. And that lovely big branch with lots of ramification has gone to the hall of cuttings. But making these sort of decisions now in the long term is always going to be of benefit to the tree, because long term we're going to get properly developed pads, avoiding all that crossovers that we don't like, but also allowing, which is what's going to happen now through this winter and autumn, a lot of light to be able to get in closer in to allow some of these shoots that are here to develop into the sort of branch structure we want. And with that in mind, we definitely don't want all that up there. Well, I've had to take a break. I've been at this for an hour, but clearly you can see just how much light is getting through and how much material I've actually removed to create visible and sustainable pads for the future. Many of you say I didn't need to, I could have just done profile cuts and gone over like that. And yes, I could have, and that's what I've been doing the last couple of years while I've been assessing its health. But now I'm satisfied with it. I actually want to pull these pads into something that I like, something that makes sense, something that isn't twisted. I like all my branches to go out like that rather than all gnarled up. And classic Chinese elm, you know what they're like that normally. And you know, this is building sustainable pad levels for the future. And again, the branches I've removed have always been crossing 2s to 3s to 4s and just picking the best ones, the best 2 to remain. And you know, it's quite amazing. You can see light through there, and what I did notice is that as a result of that, there's a lot of dead leaves, dead shoots closer in, which would have been ideal if I'd done this work probably in spring. Okay, well, I hope you can see just how much has been opened up on both sides, and again, I can't keep reassuring you, this will benefit the tree. It will definitely benefit the tree. And now what I'm able to do is actually see the pads that I want. Now the front is going to be here, so I'm looking at this clutter of branches here, and got a little one here that I don't necessarily know, but I'm going to keep it for now. But there's this one. I think you can see it actually goes across the front of the apical region, and it's also from a junction of 1, 2, 3, definitely 3, and I think you can probably clearly see what needs to happen. First of all, I'll just leave that stub and take that great big bit off. Wow, definitely further than I thought I was going today, but seems the right thing to do. Naturally, there's the side effect of that, and probably something I didn't like but had to do something about, is that we've now opened up the front all the way to the top. And you know, traditionally, yes, we like the front for the first half, even up to 2/3 to be open to us. This part here should then start to form more of a decent sort of apical region and can actually cover. We don't need to be opened right up to it. But the issue remained, no matter how I looked at it, is one, we had too many branches coming from the same spot, and this one was going across the line. So what I've been looking for is to develop branches from here, shorten these back perhaps here or here, and get branches coming out. It's going to take a bit of time, but it's Chinese elm. I'm sure it'll do fine. This has all been opened up so much. I'm really excited about how this is going to develop, and I feel really positive about it. And looks like we probably need to cut some of this back. I'm going to do more apical work when these little ones here start developing, because I can start bringing that back. I want this to thicken in over here, bringing the height down quite a bit. But I've taken off over 50% of the tree for sure, so I suppose there's only really this to do, isn't there? Ta-da! Wow. Doesn't it make a difference when you can see through, you can see all that structure? And yeah, it was heavy. But that's the sort of thing you need to do with the Chinese elms. You really do need to, you know, let it go for a couple of years and then bring it right back in, allow it to go, and I'll allow this to go for another sort of year probably. And my aim is now, is with this light coming in, all these little ones that are in here are going to be the future for this tree, so I can bring in the structure closer. Because, I mean, you'll know this yourself with Chinese elms, you get these long whippy branches, and all they want to do is find that glorious sunlight. If you've got quite a dense foliage mass, everything close in just dies off. So we end up with these great big bare sections and the foliage out at the second half of a branch. We just don't want that. We need to be pushing it back, and the only way that can happen is if light can get in there. And that is definitely what I've been looking to achieve on this particular pruning route. Okay, well there's only 3 things left to do. First of them is I want to do a little bit with the pot. I've got this Bonsai camellia oil, and this is just about giving this old ropey pot a bit of a shine. Now I know it's a mica pot, it's nothing special, but you know what? The tree's special, and one day I'll get the pot that I want for it. Right now, why not give this a bit of a shine up and help make it pop. And thinking about it, while we've got the camellia oil out, with these lovely sharp blades, I'm just going to clean all the muck off the blade of these shears, because in the end, if you leave this on, although it's not technically blunting it, what it does do is the chemicals of whatever you've been cutting can work into the metals, and if you leave it over the winter period, it certainly causes you some issues. Bit of a there we go. And obviously blade care, tool care, and whatever you do, self-care. You don't want to be pointing those into yourself. So they're clear, and that just leaves 2 more things. First thing we want to do is I want to give this good fertiliser. This is just a mixture of diluted super thrive in the ratios required to give it a good and that is just leaving one thing left to do. Just carefully top dress. And again, the main reason I'm doing this is there are some roots that have been exposed, some fine little roots, but I also want to reduce the opportunity for algae or moss to develop on this soil surface over the winter. Blown away, really happy, and hopefully you'll have seen the process itself. I know it's difficult, I couldn't have literally gone through every single branch. I think the expert at that is Nigel Saunders. He will painstakingly take you through the whole lot. But you know what? Every single tree, every single decision is unique to that tree. And what works for a tree that you might be watching with me, or what you might be watching with Nigel, the same process won't necessarily work on your trees. It's understanding the basics, the base, the trunk, and then ultimately removing anything that doesn't make sense, is going the wrong way, is more than 3, or is just obscuring your pad levels. Yes, in this one, now it's going to have to rejuvenate, rebuild, but it can do so because light can get in, and I can see exactly where those pads are, as I know you can too. Actually, just remember, there is one thing I need to show you. I kept talking about this one worrying me a little bit. We've got lots of green on this side. This side's a bit more autumnal, ready to drop, and I've sort of decided that actually I won't do any pruning on this at all, apart from a few obvious places. And I think, you know, you can see we've got some really extra long shoots. I'm not going to remove anything big, but I am going to just reduce these long shoots back and take the whole thing back to profile. What I don't want to do is overly stress it or anything like that. I'm going to leave a lot of the big work for next year, after I've done a repot, after it's had a few months to dig in, and actually probably it'll be a year's time. So we'll look at this one this time next year, shall we? Apart from that, I think that would be a really great video to you to see, just to remind you of all the key things you need to be doing in October. Absolute winner. Apart from that, enjoy your bonsai. God bless. Cheers.